point, which this article from the New York Times shows. More and more keeps coming out, and the more that comes out, the more we see how large their cover-up has been. Questions on this subject? What? Yes, in the back. Yeah, we're all going together. Yeah, I mentioned that in my remarks. Yes. Yeah. Yes, I don't know if we're going to get. We're all going, and we have set up appointments to go. Yes.
Leader Schumer, you asked for unanimous consent on the floor a few weeks ago. We're also objecting. What is your floor strategy moving forward to kind of get Senate action on this?
Well, the bottom line is the Republicans all voted for it, every single one, and we're going to keep at it. We're going to use every strategy we can, going to the Justice Department, seeking lawsuits, as well as whatever legislative strategies will work. Yes.
Over in the House side, opinions are being proposed starting today to memo the Epstein investigation. Just a general reaction.
Look, all the truth should come out, period. Yes.
Thank you so much, Schumer, from the Italian National TV. Just two questions. One, you also say difference in the treatment that this case has been happening in Europe and here in the
As my colleagues well outlined, I agree.
Second question, how do you react to people who say that Democrats and Republicans are enacting a new form of misconduct, basically judging guilty by association, whether it's in the email or...
Yeah, all we want is the truth. The truth.
Is there any danger?
Yes.
Is there any effort to reach out to the woman who has
There will be efforts to reach out to everyone who's willing to come forward and speak. And do you want to talk about that?
I think I mentioned in my remarks.
Yeah.
Roughly a letter on preserving the evidence and witnesses.
Yeah, so we can get it. Yes.
When you see the unredacted documents, what can the public expect from you to inform them? Can you do anything to inform them?
Well, we're not going to prejudge. Let's see what's in the documents. We want to protect people's identities, but we also want the truth to come out, and we will walk that line with great vigor. Yes.
There are an additional 3 million files that have not been released, and many, it seems, of the files that have been remain redacted or have parts redacted. So what steps are you taking to ensure that those redactions are under?
Yeah, we're going to demand justification for any redactions, and if the redactions are cover-ups as opposed to protecting identities, we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to get to the bottom of it. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
So we just heard from Senate Democrats speaking about the Epstein investigation. Thank you so much for watching live now from Fox. I'm Shauna Kalafi. We have a lot of news involving the Epstein investigation. Hillary Clinton testifying before lawmakers today. We will get to all that in just a moment, but we want to talk about the bigger conversation surrounding this. The Epstein investigation has opened up these very important conversations around child abuse and sexual exploitation. That's why we want to bring in attorney Jody Neal. She's a child abuse expert and a survivor. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such an important topic.
It really is, Jody. And, you know, you have a lot of experience actually prosecuting these types of crimes against children. So I want to ask you a question that has come up a little bit in the Epstein investigation and other cases like this, which is why does it take so long sometimes for these victims to come forward, if ever?
We used to believe that the decision about whether to disclose was simply a choice. We now know, thanks to trauma research and academic studies, that when a person survives a crime that takes place upon their body, they actually go into a state of being frozen. And in that instance, the person is not really able to say the truth about what's happened to them. They're frozen. They are basically living in a prison that was constructed by this traumatic event that took place a long time ago. So when people ask the question, why didn't the survivors come forward sooner? I think you're seeing from the news coverage today, there are very real reasons why a survivor would be scared in the first place. But two, that survivor might not be able to say the truth about what's happened to them yet, because they may still be frozen.
And many of the Epstein survivors have been actually attending some of these hearings related to the investigation, like when Pam Bondi testified. They've also been giving speeches. We just saw some video of one of those rallies. What's it like for the Epstein survivors to have to relive their stories, their experiences over and over, and also in such a public light with this news story being on everybody's minds?
Being openly identified as a survivor of sexual abuse is one of the riskiest things that a human being can do in this day and age. You risk ostracizing from your family, you risk being ostracized from your friends, you risk losing jobs, opportunities. You've essentially put a target on your back. But we are at a point in time, and all of these survivors have said this themselves, where coming forward is absolutely imperative, not only for our individual healing, but for the healing of the collective. And we know from the most recent data from the Centers for Disease Control that 57,748,000 American women and 1 in 6 American men have survived contact sexual violence in our lifetimes. And with data like that equaling roughly half of all American women, and again, the 1 in 6 men, coming forward as a survivor in this public fashion has a greater value to society at this moment in time than staying silent would have for you on an individual level personally.
And for these survivors, of course, there's the traumatic experience that they have, but then coming forward, as you mentioned, that comes with its own risks and traumas, especially when people don't believe their stories. So can you talk about that element of people questioning their credibility coming forward with such a sensitive and traumatic experience?
Every survivor who reports to the police, or a lot of survivors who even tell their own parents or family members, people who are supposed to take care of them and love them and make them feel safe, they find that the most painful experience they can have is not being believed by those closest to them. And what we know from trauma research is that that actually creates a wound that is equal to or greater than the actual abuse that the survivor suffered. So it is something that's being done because it has to be done. And we're seeing from Virginia Giuffre's memoir that coming forward is a sacrifice, and there are a brave few who are willing to do it at great risk to themselves. But what we have also seen from Giselle Pellico's brand new book that came out last week is that the survivors who support survivors who are standing up create the most beautiful moments of healing in public spaces. In Giselle Pellico's case, it was the courtroom. And here we have the steps of the Capitol, where all these survivors have come forward with their legal teams to call for the release of the Epstein files. And even though it's painful and even though it's difficult, tremendous healing can be accomplished by standing together and finding safety in numbers and knowing that you're not alone.
And as these Epstein survivors are fighting for justice and accountability for anybody involved, other survivors are also fighting their own battles every day. So for people, the Epstein investigation obviously has been in the spotlight of media coverage for a long time now, and that can be triggering for many trauma survivors at home watching this news coverage. How does such a public story like this impact other trauma survivors? And maybe what advice do you have for people as the story is in the spotlight and kind of hard to avoid in the news coverage these days?
What an excellent, prescient question. And I would say, as I'm a survivor myself, and until I wrote my book, Outcry Witness, and disclosed the truth about what happened to me, I had to duck. I had to duck from news stories like this. I simply could not handle it. I had to turn off the news, turn off the internet, turn off the Instagram, whatever it was. And I did that to protect myself.